In the world of comics, the heroes always save the day. They stop the villains, they stop the evil plans, but what happens when the heroes don't save the world? What happens when the villains win? What happens when the status quo changes? Yeah, it's never a good thing. Hey guys, what's going on? It's your boy, Big Blue Drew 97, and in this video, I want to discuss the ending of the current arc and saga of My Hero Academia, and how the ending of this arc will completely change the status quo of the story moving forward. But before I dive into this discussion, I want to ask you to subscribe to my channel for more content like this, and leave a like and a comment below if this video is something that you find interesting. And with that out the way, let's get started. But before we get into the gist of this discussion, I want to explain the structure of the story so far, the importance of the current story arc, and the reason why the status quo of the series is important. The story of My Hero Academia follows the protagonist Izuku Midoriya in his goal of being the hero that can save people in this world. Izuku Midoriya is granted the power like no other from the hero he admires the most, All Might. He becomes a student at his dream school, UA, so that he is able to learn how to be a great hero. Most story arcs in My Hero Academia involve Deku learning something new. Deku is either learning how to be a hero in a school-based setting or learning how to be a hero through experience fighting villains. There are some exceptions, which include the remedial course arc, which focuses on Bakugo and Shoto, the pro hero arc that focuses on the pro heroes Endeavor and Hogs, and the Meta Liberation Army arc, which focuses on the League of Villains versus the Meta Liberation Army. In each story arc, however, there is always a resolution which involves either the villains being defeated or fought off by the heroes/students, an individual or group of people being saved from being kidnapped, or the Class 1A students' current educational activity being wrapped up. This is seen in almost every story arc so far. The possible exception that does not follow this established story structure is the current Paranormal Liberation War arc. The Paranormal Liberation War arc may be the most influential and most important story arc in My Hero Academia so far. The story arc has challenged the reader's perception of where this story is headed. The importance of this story arc lies in the character growth of Shigaraki throughout the entire story. Shigaraki has grown into a wonderful villain in contrast to the first time we see him. At first, he was just a petulant little child that wanted to play video games and kill All Might just out of spite. Now, he has grown into possibly the most dangerous and most unpredictable villain in the story. The characterization of Shigaraki during the rise of the villains saga is coming to a climax in this current arc. This story arc has shown that the heroes were not ready to fight Shigaraki and the Paranormal Liberation Army. This story arc also hammers in the idea that the hero society is flawed and needs to be reformed. This story arc will lead to changes in the status quo of My Hero Academia. Status quo. Noun. The existing state of affairs, especially regarding social or political issues. The status quo in any story can be very important by providing a baseline understanding of what is considered the norm in a story. Without a status quo, there will be no way to differentiate the present story from the past story or the future story. The existence of a status quo in superhero comics and manga allows for the understanding of when things change and when things stay the same. In superhero comic books especially, the status quo is important because it allows for superheroes to have continuous stories. A villain would try to change the status quo by either putting people in danger, destroying a city, or hurting the loved ones of the superhero. Spider-Man is a great example for how the status quo in comics is represented. Spider-Man is always in New York, swinging through the city, saving lives, and dealing with the burdens of financial instability. So basically, he's a college student. Any changes made to the status quo would then be handled and returned to the norm. This concept is seen in many hero stories, and My Hero Academia is no exception. The status quo of My Hero Academia is that the heroes will save the day and stop the villains while the children learn to be heroes. There is also the status quo of a singular symbol of peace to uphold the current hero society. An example for how the status quo is changed, then returned to normal, is seen in the Force Training arc and the Hideout Raid arc. In the Force Training Camp arc, the students were unable to stop the League of Villains from kidnapping Bakugo, which changed the status quo. The preceding arc, however, the Hideout Raid arc, restored the established status quo by having the students rescue Bakugo while the other pro heroes fought off Nomus, while All Might defeated All for One. Even the Meta Liberation Army arc can be seen as a return to a status quo by having the League of Villains remaining the major antagonistic group in the story. The story of My Hero Academia will always return back to the current status quo, or at least it used to. The status quo as we know it will change forever and cannot be undone once we reach the end of the Rise of the Villains saga. The Paranormal Liberation War arc is significantly different from any arc in the series so far. The heroes appear to have the advantage over the villains at the beginning of this arc. They took over the hospital, they defeated the high-end Nomus, they even trapped the villains underground. But everything changed when the Fire Nation, when Shigaraki, broke out of his tank. There has been death on both sides of this war. The hero side has suffered the most by having many heroes die by Shigaraki's decay quirk alone. The student heroes are now on the front line and are fighting as pro heroes. Not all of the students are involved with this fight, but soon they will be. The story so far is depicting that the ending of this arc will end in the villains' victory. The villains have a modified Shigaraki with the power equivalent to All Might and Gigantamagia that is on his way to battle with Shigaraki against the heroes. And let's not forget the Nomus that are also in the area. The heroes are also at a bigger disadvantage because over half of the top 10 heroes are either dead, incapacitated, or missing. Most of the heavy hitters on the side of the villains are still able to fight. There is also the high possibility that we can lose more heroes, such as Eraserhead or Endeavor, by having their quirks erased, their quirks stolen, or having their lives taken. In Chapter 276 of My Hero Academia, the fight between the heroes and the villains is being televised across the country. The reporters question what will happen to the country, and this is foreshadowing for the villains being victorious in the end. The villains' victory will involve the defeat of all, if not most, of the pro heroes. Shigaraki will most likely attempt to take Deku's quirk, but will not be able to. Shigaraki will most likely erase Endeavor's quirk, and then either kill him or let him escape. The heroes will make a tactical retreat and will show all of Japan that the heroes can and have lost. The villains will most likely take control of Jakku City and claim it as their own. The end of the Paranormal Liberation War arc will most likely be the end of the Rise of the Villain Saga. The end of this saga will also lead the country changing for the worst. The change will lead to a change in the current status quo for the rest of the story and will also lead into a new saga. The Rise of the Heroes saga. The current status quo is as such. The students will learn how to be heroes in school. The number one hero will be the pillar to hold up hero society, and the pro heroes will always stop the villains. After the end of the Rise of the Villain saga, this status quo will change completely. A new status quo will be established where the villains will begin to take over Japan. The villains will win more against the heroes, and the current hero system and society will fall due to reliance on a singular symbol of peace. The students will most likely no longer stay in a school-centered setting. The students will most likely act more as pro-heroes instead of learning how to be heroes. There's also the possibility that the students will travel abroad to America to become heroes and return to save the day. The new status quo will be a society that will not have faith in the hero system. This change in the status quo, however, will not be permanent. The students will grow stronger and be better heroes than their predecessors. The students will eventually defeat the villains and return back to a status quo. With the end of the rise of the villain saga, the current status quo will disappear forever. This will be due to the fact that the current status quo is tied directly to the current state of hero society. The hero society as we know it will fall, and a new hero society will be built upon the ashes, and a new status quo will be established. The new status quo will have the heroes taking on and defeating the criminals, same as the old status quo, but the students will replace the current pro-heroes. The students will be professional heroes and have the new hero society built upon the backs of all heroes instead of just one. The new status quo will create a society where those on the edge will be accepted back into society and prevent any more people from falling into the cracks. This will be a new dawn in the hero society as our favorite students become heroes the world needs and deserves. So yeah, this is my discussion for My Hero Academia when it involves the status quo of hero society and what I think is going to happen once the rise of the villain saga and the Paranormal Liberation War arc ends. Hopefully this is a video that y'all really enjoyed. I put a lot of effort into it. What do you think is going to happen? Do you think that the status quo won't change? Do you think that the villains will fail? If you think that, you're wrong. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to tell you that right now. You're wrong if you think that. Stop thinking that. Be more logical. But with jokes aside, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you'll subscribe to my channel, and hopefully you enjoyed this content. Leave a like if this is a video that you liked. Leave a comment talking about what you liked, what you didn't like. Do all of that cool jazz, and hopefully I'll be able to catch you in my next video. Goodbye for now.